In the vast emptiness of space, a tiny human ship floated alone. Stars shimmered like distant diamonds, cold and silent. Around the ship, darkness stretched endlessly, broken only by the faint glows of distant galaxies. The human vessel was old, its metal scratched and scarred from countless journeys. Sparks flew from small damage along its hull. Its engines hummed weakly, struggling to keep pace, but it moved with purpose, steady and unafraid. No one had expected humans to survive. Every alien race in the galaxy had long written them off. Extinct, they had said. Gone forever. Human colonies, scattered and forgotten, had vanished under the weight of time and conquest. Their technology was thought primitive. Their numbers minuscule. Yet here in the cold void, one small ship persisted. The crew inside worked quietly. Their movements were calm but precise, each member focused on a task. One monitored the ship's weak shields, another repaired damaged wiring along the hull. No one spoke much, but every eye flickered with determination. They knew the galaxy did not believe in their existence, and yet they moved forward with courage that defied logic. Suddenly, the ship's communication console beeped. A small signal blinked, weak but deliberate. It was almost invisible against the vast spectrum of galactic frequencies. Yet, it carried a message, a signal no alien had expected. The human ship was alive and it was reaching out. Far away across the darkness, alien fleets noticed the faint signal. Massive ships, dark and towering, drifted through space, their surfaces glowing with strange energy. Alien commanders leaned over their control panels, eyes widening in surprise. They had heard whispers of human extinction, but a live signal? That was impossible. Their weapons were ready, their fleets prepared to strike, but hesitation rippled through their ranks. A tiny, fragile human ship dared to call out to the galaxy. Inside the human ship, the crew did not celebrate. They knew danger could arrive at any moment. The signal was only the first step in a plan that none of their enemies could predict. It was small, subtle, almost innocent, but it carried a weight no alien could understand. Humans had always been underestimated. They had always survived, even when hope seemed lost. And now, in the cold depths of space, they were about to show that survival was only the beginning. Outside, the void seemed heavier. Space was silent, but the tension was thick. The human ship moved slowly, carefully, like a predator in the dark. The alien fleets shifted, their massive engines sending out waves of energy. Their sensors scanned for threats, but the signal confused them. What was this tiny ship planning? How could humans, last in the galaxy, still challenge them? The human captain, a figure older than anyone in the fleet expected, stood at the control console. His hands were steady, eyes sharp. He had lived through years of war, loss, and betrayal. Yet he carried a calm confidence that radiated through the ship. "Prepare for the next phase," he said quietly. No one asked questions. Everyone understood. Humans were not just survivors, they were unpredictable, clever, and relentless. As the human ship sent its signal farther into space, distant alien commanders began to murmur among themselves. Their voices carried disbelief, fear, and a hint of curiosity. How could such a small and fragile race endure when entire alien civilizations had already fallen? The human signal was more than communication. It was a warning. It said, "We are still here. Do not underestimate us." Suddenly, a small light flashed on the ship's exterior. Sensors picked up a faint movement in the distance. A shadowy figure, a scout ship from the alien fleet, approached slowly. Its design was massive and alien, with glowing energy running along its hull. Yet the human ship did not flee. It held its position, ready for what was to come. The crew worked in silence, preparing for any outcome. The young engineer adjusted a damaged thruster. The weapons officer checked the ship's weak but functional defenses. Each action was deliberate, precise. They had survived before in situations where no hope remained, and they would survive again. In that moment, the human ship was not just a vessel. It was a symbol. A signal in the dark, small but powerful, declaring to the galaxy that humans, though last, were not gone. The alien fleet may have expected surrender, but they would receive something entirely different. And in the cold silence of space, with stars distant and unfeeling, the smallest human ship began a journey that would change the galaxy forever. Suspense hung in the void. What were the humans planning? How could they, last in the galaxy, challenge the might of alien fleets? No one could guess. No one could prepare. And in that darkness, the story of human survival, and perhaps their revenge, was just beginning. The small human ship moved steadily through the void. Its engines glowed faintly, barely enough to make it visible in the darkness. Every metal plate on its hull bore marks of age and battle, yet it held together like its crew, stubborn, resilient, and full of silent determination. Far in the distance, the alien fleet noticed the human signal more clearly now. Their massive ships, dark and glowing with strange energy, shifted in unison. Hundreds of alien vessels, each larger than the human ship could ever imagine, moved closer. Their lights flickered and hummed, scanning the emptiness around them. Alien commanders stared at their consoles, eyes wide with disbelief. "This cannot be," one of them hissed. His voice was harsh, mechanical in tone, but trembling with surprise. "The humans, they are alive?" Another shook its head. "Extinct. They should have vanished centuries ago. Every report confirms it. And yet, that signal. It is theirs." The human ship continued, moving deliberately. Inside, the crew remained calm. They had expected this reaction. They had known that sending a signal would bring attention. And attention they believed could be turned into advantage. The alien fleet advanced cautiously. Their massive warships surrounded the human vessel, their energy weapons pointed and ready. Outside, the void seemed suddenly alive with threat. Sparks of energy flared from distant ships, reflections of alien technology no human had ever seen. Yet inside the human ship there was no fear. The captain, a tall figure with sharp, calculating eyes, watched the approaching fleet. His hands rested lightly on the control console, fingers ready to move. "Stay calm," he said softly. "They expect fear. Do not give it to them." The crew obeyed without hesitation. Every human on board understood the stakes. They were last, yes, the smallest, weakest presence in the galaxy, but they were not powerless. Humans had a history of survival, of ingenuity. They had faced overwhelming odds before and had survived when no one expected it. The alien ships grew closer. Their sensors scanned every inch of the human vessel, probing its hull, its energy signature, and even the faint heat of the crew inside. They whispered among themselves, their alien language sharp and urgent. "What is this? What trick is this tiny ship hiding?" One of the alien commanders decided to send a scout vessel forward. It moved slowly, its massive hull casting shadows that swallowed the human ship. Its energy shields glimmered in the cold starlight. The human ship did not move to evade it. Instead, it held position, almost challenging the alien vessel to come closer. Inside, the crew worked silently. The engineer adjusted damaged wiring, sparks flying in the dim light. The weapons officer checked the small, hidden armaments, testing systems that the aliens had never seen. And the captain watched, eyes sharp, calculating as he prepared for the moment when humans would show their strength. The scout ship hovered nearby, scanning the human vessel. Alien sensors were precise, powerful, and relentless. But they could not predict human cunning. The tiny ship sent out subtle signals, encrypted pulses of data that masked its true capabilities. The aliens had never faced this before. Suddenly, the human ship emitted a soft pulse of energy. It was not an attack, not yet, but the aliens noticed it. Their sensors blinked, their systems momentarily confused. The human ship seemed almost alive. Not in the mechanical sense, but in the sense of intention, of intelligence, of defiance. The aliens were unsettled. They had planned to crush a weak, last remaining human vessel. Instead, they were faced with something far more dangerous: unpredictability. The humans did not fear them. The humans were not surrendering. They were thinking, calculating, ready to act. Inside the human ship, the crew exchanged brief glances. No words were needed. Their training, their experience, and their history of survival spoke louder than any conversation. Humans had always turned weakness into strength. And now, even surrounded by an enemy fleet, they were ready to demonstrate that again. The scout ship moved closer, its sensors probing deeper. The alien crew expected fear, panic, a trembling reaction from the humans. Instead, the human captain smiled faintly. His eyes gleamed with quiet determination. "They think they know us," he murmured. "They do not." The human ship began a subtle maneuver, a slow, deliberate movement that seemed almost insignificant but carried hidden purpose. The alien fleet adjusted their formation, curious and cautious. Every flicker of movement was observed, every pulse of energy measured. And yet, the humans remained unreadable, calm, unbroken. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy witnessed something unexpected. The last humans were not hiding. They were not weak. They were alive, alert, and ready. And in that moment, the alien commanders understood a terrible truth. The humans, thought extinct, had survived. And survival was only the beginning. Suspense built in the void. What would the humans do next? How could a single fragile ship challenge an entire alien fleet? No one could guess. No one could prepare. The first contact had begun, but the real story, of cunning, courage, and defiance, was just about to unfold. The human ship drifted quietly in the void, small and fragile against the enormous alien fleet. Sparks still flickered along its old hull, remnants of previous encounters and the wear of countless journeys. The crew inside moved with calm precision. Their eyes scanned the view screens, their hands adjusted controls, and every movement was deliberate, practiced, and purposeful. The alien fleet loomed large in the distance. Their massive ships glowed with energy, their sensors probing, analyzing, and calculating every detail of the human vessel. Hundreds of alien eyes, enhanced by technology far beyond human understanding, watched and waited for a reaction. They expected fear, panic, or a desperate retreat. They expected surrender. But the humans offered none of these. Then, without warning, the human ship moved. Not fast, not recklessly, but in a pattern the alien fleet had not anticipated. It shifted sideways, a subtle maneuver, dodging the sweeping energy scans of the nearest alien warship. The aliens blinked in confusion. Their sensors had never encountered movement like this from a human vessel before. Every calculation they had made assumed the humans were weak, predictable, and defenseless. They were wrong. Inside the human ship, the crew worked as one. The engineer adjusted the power flow to the ship's engines, a faint hum of energy pulsing through the vessel. The weapons officer monitored alien positions, readying the ship's hidden defenses. The captain's eyes never left the main screen. Every move, every shift of the ship, was part of a plan only humans could understand. The alien fleet reacted, trying to recalibrate their weapons and sensors. Beams of energy shot across space, aiming to disable or destroy the human vessel. Sparks erupted on the hull, but the ship did not falter. It dodged, twisted, and weaved through the deadly streams with a grace that seemed impossible for a craft so small and worn. The aliens whispered among themselves, voices sharp with disbelief. How? One hissed. It should be trapped. Another growled, impossible. This tiny ship, it moves too fast. Too smart. And yet, the human ship continued. Every maneuver, every pulse of energy seemed effortless. It was not just speed or technology that saved it, it was intelligence, instinct, and unpredictability. Humans had always turned disadvantages into advantages, and now, even facing the largest alien fleet in history, they did it again. The captain spoke quietly, issuing commands that were barely audible over the ship's hum. Keep the pattern steady. Do not overextend. Watch their blind spots. The crew responded immediately, adjusting thrusters, rerouting energy, and preparing hidden systems. There was no fear, only focus. Humans had survived worse and they knew it. One alien warship fired a concentrated beam. The human ship shuddered as energy struck its hull, sparks flying violently. But it moved again, sliding out of the strike with precision. Another ship attempted to flank them, but the humans anticipated it, twisting the vessel in a subtle arc that sent the alien ship's calculations off balance. The fleet's commanders grew anxious. They had expected an easy victory, a single, weak human vessel to destroy and then declare the species extinct once more. Instead, the humans acted with skill, daring, and audacity. Their movements were a puzzle the aliens could not solve, a code that defied logic. Inside the human ship, the crew allowed themselves a moment of silent satisfaction. Each move brought them closer to their goal. Each dodge and shift was more than survival, it was a message. Humans were not weak. Humans were not predictable. Humans were alive and they were clever. A young crew member at the sensor console leaned forward, eyes wide. Captain, their formation, it's breaking. They don't know how to respond. The captain nodded slowly, a faint smile on his face. Good. Let them underestimate us a little longer. Every moment counts. The alien fleet, meanwhile, began to scatter slightly, unsure of the human ship's next move. Their massive formations, once rigid and intimidating, faltered under the tiny vessel's clever maneuvers. Confusion rippled through their ranks. They had expected surrender. They had expected fear. Instead, they found a force of cunning and unpredictability. For the humans, the danger was still real. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and the tiny ship could be destroyed instantly. But they trusted their instincts, their training, and each other. This was not just a fight, it was a demonstration of what it meant to survive, to adapt, to endure when the odds were impossible. And then, in the silence between distant stars, the human ship made another unexpected move. It shifted behind a faint cluster of asteroid debris, almost invisible against the black of space. The alien sensors struggled to detect it. The massive warships fired blindly, their beams striking empty space, wasted energy flashing into the void. The human captain exhaled slowly, satisfied. They are blinded, and they don't even know it yet. A thrill ran through the crew. For the first time in centuries, humans were not fleeing. They were leading the dance. They were controlling the battlefield, using intelligence and unpredictability as their most powerful weapons. In the alien fleet, frustration turned to fear. They had underestimated humans for the last time. Every prediction they had made failed. Every calculation was wrong. And the tiny human ship, still battered and scarred, moved with a freedom and confidence that no alien commander had imagined possible. The first true challenge had begun. The human ship, last in the galaxy, was no longer just surviving. It was showing that even the smallest, weakest presence could turn the tide of a battle. Suspense built in the void. What would the humans do next? How far could a single ship outmaneuver an entire fleet? And what hidden surprises lay within that small vessel, waiting for the right moment to strike? The galaxy had no answers yet, and the humans intended to keep it that way. The tiny human ship drifted in the darkness, battered but unbroken. Sparks still flickered along the hull, a reminder of previous encounters, yet the crew moved with calm precision. Every action was calculated, deliberate, and patient. They knew the galaxy expected weakness from them. They knew the alien fleet thought humans were extinct, fragile, and defenseless. And now it was time to prove them wrong. The alien fleet loomed ahead, massive and intimidating. Their ships glowed with energy that pulsed like a heartbeat, scanning the small human vessel relentlessly. Hundreds of alien weapons were trained on the ship, ready to annihilate it at a moment's notice. Yet the humans did not flinch. Instead, the captain calmly observed, calculating the fleet's every movement, every pause, every flaw in their formation. Inside the ship, the crew prepared. The weapons officer activated hidden systems, silent mechanisms buried deep within the vessel for decades. Energy hummed quietly, faint and almost undetectable. The engineers monitored power flow, making small adjustments, redirecting energy from non-essential systems to the hidden core. The aliens, confident in their superiority, did not notice. Their sensors focused on the hull, on shields, on visible engines, but they missed the invisible. They never expected humans to possess technology they could not detect. They never expected humans to fight with intelligence, cunning, and surprise as their strongest weapon. A faint glow began to emanate from the human ship's hull. It was subtle, almost invisible against the backdrop of distant stars. But it pulsed with a rhythm that suggested power, potential, and purpose. The alien fleet paused, their sensors confused. The human ship's energy signature seemed strange, unlike anything in their database. "Captain, what is happening?" the young engineer whispered. The captain's eyes gleamed with calm determination. "The moment we've waited for," he replied. "Get ready." The alien fleet began to tighten its formation, preparing for an attack. They expected the humans to panic, to attempt a weak escape, or to surrender. But the humans had no intention of fleeing. They had planned this moment for years. Hidden within the tiny ship was a weapon the galaxy had never seen. A weapon designed not to destroy indiscriminately, but to shift the balance of power in a single, precise strike. A sudden pulse of energy radiated from the human ship. It was almost imperceptible, yet it traveled through space like a ripple, reaching the nearest alien vessels first. Sensors on the alien ships flickered and failed. Weapons malfunctioned. Shields fluctuated unpredictably. Confusion rippled through the fleet as they struggled to understand what was happening. The human ship moved again, deliberately, calmly, as the alien fleet scrambled to regain control. Another pulse, stronger this time, sent waves of energy through space, disrupting the alien ship's formation. Their glowing hulls flickered and communication channels buzzed with static. The fleet's commanders shouted orders, but their systems faltered. The humans were doing what the aliens had deemed impossible. They were turning defense into offense without firing a single shot yet. Inside the ship, the crew worked seamlessly. The engineer adjusted the core, amplifying the energy pulses. The weapons officer monitored the alien fleet, noting which ships were affected most by the disruption. The captain smiled faintly. Humans had always survived against impossible odds, using intelligence, cunning, and courage. And now, even last in the galaxy, they were beginning to fight back. One alien warship attempted to close in, its weapons firing blindly. Sparks erupted as energy struck the hull, but the pulses from the human ship prevented the beam from locking on. Another ship tried to flank them, but sensors and engines went haywire, leaving it vulnerable. Every move the aliens made, the humans had anticipated. Every strike was countered, not with brute force but with intelligence and hidden power. The alien commanders were now panicking. They had expected a fragile, last remaining human ship, easy to destroy. Instead, they faced a vessel that was small, yes, but unpredictable, clever, and armed with a technology beyond their understanding. Their calculations, strategies, and formations failed again and again. The human captain gave a single order, calm and decisive: engage the next phase. A soft hum grew into a strong vibration, energy radiating outward in waves. The aliens could feel it before they saw it, something alive, something powerful, moving through the void. The hidden weapon, small and silent until now, had begun to reveal its strength. Alien ships shuddered under the subtle force. Systems failed one after another. Communications broke. Engines misfired. Even their shields flickered, struggling to contain energy they could not comprehend. The fleet, once confident and imposing, now wavered under the invisible power of the last human ship. The human crew, calm and precise, observed. They had never been stronger, never more in control. Humans had always relied on intelligence, adaptability, and courage. And now, against a fleet that dwarfed them in size, power, and technology, these qualities shone brighter than ever. The aliens realized with growing horror that the humans had never been weak. They had never been defenseless. They had survived centuries of neglect, war, and extinction, hiding their greatest strength for this very moment. And now, with the secret weapon activated, the last humans were no longer merely surviving. They were leading, controlling, and striking fear into the hearts of those who had thought them gone. Suspense hung in space. What was the weapon capable of? How far could humans push the alien fleet before retaliation? The galaxy had never seen the last humans in action, and the next moments would prove that survival was only the beginning. The alien fleet, once confident and imposing, now wavered under the unexpected assault. Their massive ships, glowing with alien energy, flickered and faltered as the human ship's hidden weapon continued to disrupt their systems. Engines misfired, weapons went offline, and communications were lost in a sea of static. Chaos rippled through the ranks of the once mighty armada. Inside the human ship, the crew moved with calm precision. The engineer monitored the core, amplifying pulses of energy at just the right intervals. The weapons officer observed the alien ships, noting which were most affected and which were vulnerable to further maneuvers. And the captain, tall and resolute, watched the view screen with a sharp, calculating gaze. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the moment when humans could turn survival into victory. The small vessel, battered and scarred, glided through the void with an elegance that belied its size. Every movement was strategic, every maneuver calculated. The aliens, though massive in number and technology, could not predict the humans' tactics. They had expected a weak target, but instead they faced intelligence, courage, and ingenuity at its finest. The first alien warship, massive and intimidating, faltered. Its engines stuttered and its shields flickered under the human pulses. The crew of the human ship seized the opportunity. With precise adjustments, the vessel darted close, unleashing a targeted strike from its hidden armaments. Sparks erupted from the alien ship, small at first but growing as the energy overload spread through its systems. The once proud vessel shuddered, then drifted silently into the void, incapacitated but not entirely destroyed. Another alien ship attempted to flank them, expecting the humans to retreat. Instead, the tiny human ship executed a daring maneuver, weaving between asteroids and debris in the area. The aliens fired blindly, their weapons striking empty space. Each miss increased confusion among the fleet, and humans moved with the precision of hunters, calm and fearless. The captain issued quiet orders. Focus on the weak points. Use their confusion. Keep them from regrouping. The crew responded instantly, adjusting energy flow, activating hidden systems, and preparing for the next wave of attacks. Every action was measured, deliberate, and deadly effective. The alien commanders were frantic. They barked orders to reposition their fleets, but their sensors were unreliable, their engines unstable. Every strategy they had relied upon was failing. They had underestimated humans for centuries, believing them fragile, weak, and predictable. That mistake was costing them dearly. The human ship moved again, a blur of motion in the void. It struck another alien vessel, this time using a pulse to disable the ship's navigation systems. The massive alien vessel spun helplessly, drifting into the void as smaller ships collided or became stranded in disarray. Each maneuver by the humans caused ripple effects across the fleet, creating confusion and panic. Inside the tiny vessel, the crew barely spoke, but their focus was absolute. Every adjustment of power, every subtle shift in movement, turned disadvantage into advantage. Humans had always survived through creativity and courage. Even when outnumbered and outgunned, they adapted, learned, and outmaneuvered. The alien fleet was discovering this truth firsthand, and it was devastating. A young engineer leaned over a console, eyes wide with excitement. "Captain, their formation is breaking. They can't regroup." The captain nodded, his face calm but determined. "Good. That's exactly what we want. Keep the pressure. Don't let them recover." The alien fleet, massive and proud moments ago, was now in disarray. Ships collided, weapons malfunctioned, and commanders shouted in frustration. Their confidence had been shattered by the tiniest human ship, driven not by brute force but by intelligence, strategy, and an unbreakable will to survive. The human vessel pressed its advantage. Using the hidden energy pulses, it disabled critical systems on multiple ships simultaneously. Engines failed, shields flickered, and weapons shut down. Alien ships that had once threatened entire star systems now drifted helplessly in space, unable to respond to the relentless precision of the human crew. Every strike, every maneuver, was a testament to human ingenuity. The crew's courage, focus, and determination were unmatched, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The aliens had assumed superiority, but humans were proving that size, number, and technology could not replace intelligence, creativity, and the will to survive. In the alien fleet, fear spread. The commanders realized that this was no ordinary human ship. It was a symbol of defiance, of endurance, of something far greater than they had anticipated. They had underestimated the humans, and that mistake was now unraveling their fleet. The captain of the human ship gave a single calm order: maintain pressure. Let them see that survival is only the beginning. And in that moment the tide turned. The small human ship, last in the galaxy, was no longer just surviving, it was dominating, outmaneuvering, and dismantling a fleet that had believed humans were extinct. The void of space, once silent and cold, now echoed with the subtle hum of human defiance. Suspense filled the darkness. How far could a single ship push an entire fleet? Could humans truly survive against the combined might of the galaxy's strongest? The story of the last humans was no longer about survival, it was about proving that the smallest, weakest presence could change the fate of the galaxy. The alien fleet, once proud and confident, now staggered in disarray. Their massive ships drifted, shields flickering, engines faltering under the relentless tactics of the tiny human vessel. Confusion spread through their ranks. Commands shouted across comm channels went unanswered. The humans, last in the galaxy, had not only survived, they had forced a powerful fleet into chaos. Inside the human ship, the crew moved with calm precision. Every action was deliberate, every maneuver calculated. Sparks still flew from minor damage along the old hull, but the crew ignored them. Their focus was absolute. They had survived worse, and now, in the shadow of a mighty enemy, they prepared for the ultimate confrontation. The captain stood at the control console, eyes sharp and calculating. His hands rested lightly on the controls, ready to guide the ship through the storm of alien fire. "They will regroup," he said quietly. "But we will not falter. Keep steady. Prepare for the final phase." The alien commanders, desperate and furious, gathered their remaining ships. Massive warships, glowing with energy, aligned for a final, coordinated attack. They had learned nothing from their previous failures. They still underestimated humans. They still believed that sheer power could overwhelm the last human vessel. They were wrong. The human crew sensed the approaching threat. The weapons officer monitored the alien ships, noting every pattern, every flaw. The engineer adjusted the core, ensuring maximum energy for both defense and offense. And the captain, calm as ever, calculated the precise movements needed to survive and strike back. Humans had always thrived on intelligence, courage, and unpredictability. Now all three would be needed. The alien fleet opened fire. Beams of destructive energy cut through the void, striking the human ship from all sides. Sparks erupted from the hull. Metal groaned under pressure. The crew braced, moving with precision. They dodged, twisted, and weaved through the deadly fire, using the debris of nearby asteroids and scattered wreckage as cover. But this was more than survival. It was a test, a demonstration of human ingenuity under impossible odds. Every pulse of energy, every subtle maneuver, disrupted the aliens' formation. Systems faltered. Weapons misfired. Communication channels buzzed with static. The fleet, once confident and deadly, now stumbled under the small human ship's relentless precision. The captain gave a single order: activate the core pulse. The human ship's hidden weapon, dormant until now, began to hum with growing intensity. Energy radiated outward in precise waves, targeting the alien fleet's weak points. Engines faltered, shields flickered, and weapons went offline. One by one, alien vessels were disabled, unable to continue their assault. The once mighty fleet was losing control, piece by piece, to a single ship thought too small to matter. The crew worked as one, a silent symphony of skill and determination. The engineer monitored the pulses, adjusting power to maintain maximum effect. The weapons officer prepared targeted strikes, using the confusion among the aliens to disable more ships. And the captain guided the ship with unwavering focus, knowing that every decision could mean life or death. One alien commander shouted in frustration, unable to maintain control. "This is impossible. How can one ship, just one ship, do this?" The captain, calm and resolute, watched the fleet unravel. "They never learned our strength," he murmured. "They never understood what humans can do when cornered. We survive. We endure. We fight." The human vessel darted between the disabled alien ships, striking strategically, not recklessly. Each move further dismantled the fleet's coordination. Sparks flew, debris floated, and alien vessels collided in chaos. The humans, last in the galaxy, were proving that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the greatest odds. A young crew member monitoring sensors spoke in awe. "Captain, they're breaking formation. They can't recover." The captain nodded. "Good. Let them see the truth. Humans are not weak. Humans are not finished." The alien fleet, once a symbol of power and domination, now faltered under the relentless precision of the tiny ship. Their remaining vessels attempted desperate attacks, but the humans anticipated each move. Every strike, every pulse was calculated. Humans had survived centuries of doubt, neglect, and near extinction. Now they were fighting not just to survive, but to send a message to the entire galaxy. The human ship, small but unbroken, pressed forward. The energy pulses surged stronger, targeting every critical system in the remaining alien vessels. Engines failed, shields collapsed, and weapons shut down. The fleet, a massive force moments ago, was now a collection of drifting, helpless ships. The tide had fully turned. Inside the human ship, the crew exhaled slightly, though their focus never wavered. They had survived against impossible odds, fought when no one expected it, and now stood as proof that humans could endure, adapt, and triumph against even the greatest threats. Suspense hung in space. Would the alien fleet retreat completely? Could one ship, last of its kind, really change the course of the galaxy? The final stand was not just about survival, it was about proving that humans, though last, were never to be underestimated. And in the cold, distant void of space, the smallest human ship prepared for the next move, one that would forever change the fate of the galaxy. The alien fleet was in complete retreat. Ships that had once seemed invincible now drifted helplessly through the void, engines failing, weapons offline, shields flickering. The massive armada, proud and dominant moments ago, had been reduced to chaos by a single human ship. A small, battered vessel that no one had expected to survive had turned the tide of an entire battle. Inside the human ship, the crew allowed themselves a quiet moment of relief. Sparks still flickered along the hull and minor damage remained, but the vessel had endured. The hidden weapon had performed beyond expectation, and the humans had demonstrated something the galaxy had forgotten: that intelligence, courage, and determination could outweigh size, number, and technology. The captain stood at the control console, his eyes scanning the aftermath. The stars outside seemed brighter now, distant yet unwavering, as if they had watched and acknowledged the humans' triumph. "We've survived," he said quietly. "And now we change the galaxy." The crew nodded, silent but proud. Humans had been underestimated for centuries. Every alien species had assumed the humans were extinct, weak, and irrelevant. Every calculation, every strategy, every assumption had failed. And now, the survivors of humanity were sending a message that would echo across the stars. Humans are resilient. Humans endure. Humans never surrender. Far away, the alien commanders struggled to regroup. Their pride had been shattered. Their fleet, once a symbol of power, was humbled by a species they had long dismissed. Confusion, fear, and disbelief rippled through their ranks. How could a single, fragile human ship, barely armed and last in the galaxy, cause such devastation? How could humans survive and fight back when everything had been against them? The human ship moved slowly through the wreckage, surveying the field. Sparks of alien energy still glowed in drifting wrecks, and debris floated silently through the void. Yet, in the midst of destruction, the humans remained untouched, calm and steady. Their endurance had proven something fundamental. Survival was not just about existing, it was about showing strength when no one expected it. The young engineer leaned over a console, scanning for any remaining threats. "Captain, they're retreating completely. No one can stop them now," he said, awe and disbelief in his voice. The captain's eyes glimmered with quiet satisfaction. "Good. Let them remember us. Let the galaxy know that humans, though last, are never defeated." The humans had not just survived, they had rewritten history. The galaxy had watched, silent, as the last humans defied expectations. Alien fleets had assumed dominance, yet one small ship had changed the course of events. They had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would never be repeated. The crew worked efficiently, making repairs, monitoring the ship's systems, and preparing for the next steps. Humans were last in the galaxy, yes, but they were far from powerless. They had proven that intelligence, courage, and unity could overcome any obstacle, no matter how vast. In the distance, the remnants of the alien fleet disappeared into the void. The galaxy was silent again, but this silence was different. It was filled with respect, awe, and an unspoken acknowledgement of human resilience. The last humans had survived. The last humans had fought. And the last humans had triumphed. The captain gazed out at the distant stars. "We were never just surviving," he said softly. "We were preparing. Preparing for this moment when the galaxy would finally see the truth. That humans endure. That humans inspire. That humans, even last, can change everything." The crew looked at him, understanding the weight of his words. They had been underestimated, dismissed, and ignored. Yet here they were, alive and victorious, standing as proof of humanity's strength. The small human ship continued its journey through space, battered but unbroken. Sparks flickered along the hull, a symbol of past struggles and triumphs. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, silent witnesses to the humans' resilience. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy knew that humans, though last, were far from finished. The message spread silently, carried by the remnants of the alien fleet and distant sensors across the void. Humans endure. Humans are clever, courageous, and unpredictable. Humans, even when last, can change the course of history. Inside the ship, the crew shared a quiet sense of pride. They had faced impossible odds, fought a fleet that dwarfed them in size and technology, and survived. And in surviving, they had shown the galaxy something fundamental. Humanity is never weak. Humanity is never defeated. Humanity, though last, is always unstoppable. As the ship drifted farther into the void, a calm silence filled the vessel. Sparks from previous battles floated like tiny stars inside the hull. Outside, the galaxy seemed to breathe, acknowledging the courage and strength of the last humans. The battle was over, but the story of humanity was just beginning. Suspense and inspiration lingered. The galaxy had witnessed a miracle. The last humans, thought extinct, had survived and triumphed against impossible odds. What would they do next? How far could humanity rise now that the first step had been taken? The answers were unknown, but one thing was certain. The galaxy would never forget the last humans, and the legend of their courage would echo across the stars forever.